As a currency, cryptocurrency has three objectives: store of value, medium of exchange, and as an asset as well. I'm going to focus on cryptocurrency as an asset and specifically the risk of cryptocurrency when it's held as an asset. But first, let me just briefly address challenges to cryptocurrency in the other areas as a medium of exchange and as a store of value. This is a chart for Bitcoin. Its price is on log scale because if you put the price outright, it's explosive. It's difficult to see. But in log scale, you can still see the point that it's not exactly stable as a store of value. It's a little bit like if you put corn in a silo, and every time you go and open up the silo, sometimes there's 1.5 times as much corn, sometimes there's only 70% as much corn. You'd say this silo is not quite doing its job in storing the corn. The second, in terms of medium of exchange, well, this coin is called a sovereign for a reason. And the reason is that countries want to have control of their money. So when you look at what's going on right now in terms of digital currency, it's not as if various countries are standing still. They're looking at what might be called cryptocurrency. They call it digital currency. They're taking their currency and looking at putting it in digital form. Some countries like China are pretty far ahead in the game. But if you look at the statements of, say, the ECB or the BIS or the Fed, they all are saying the same thing, which is we're looking at digital currency, but it's going to be based on our currency, not on some universal currency. But the banks and the governments also have pretty clearly stated that their view of current cryptocurrencies is as an asset. In fact, if you look at the Fed, if you look at the BIS, if you look at the European Central Bank, they're all stating the same thing, which is they look at Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as assets. In fact, they call them speculative assets. So after this long preamble, my main point in terms of the risk of cryptocurrency as an asset is simple. And that is currently we can't measure the risk. We don't even know how to look at the risk for cryptocurrency. And risk 101 is if you can't measure the risk of an asset, you don't put it in your portfolio. Now, somebody can just take a speculative position, but if you have a quasi-fiduciary responsibility in constructing and monitoring a portfolio, you simply can't take an asset where you don't understand the risk and where you can't measure the risk and put it in that portfolio. So this is the big challenge that we have for cryptocurrencies. Of course, you have history. You could look at the history. But if there's ever an asset class where history is not a good guide, this is it. Because cryptocurrencies are nascent. The participants are changing over time. The type of market in which they exist is changing over time. Their applications are changing. So the key focus we need to take, the key challenge that we have if we're going to treat cryptocurrencies as an asset is to understand how to measure the risk.